Hello everyone, this is Shudipto from Technical Potpourri. This video is going to be the first one of my Fundamental of CSS tutorial. In this video, I'll be covering what is CSS, why we should use CSS, what is the syntax of CSS, what are the different ways how you can include CSS, and the setup that you need to continue in this tutorial, and finally the obvious Hello World program. So without any further delay, let's dive in. So the first thing that we'll cover is what is CSS? So CSS basically stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's a presentation of it's basically a presentation layer of the web. It describes how the different HTML elements will be displayed, and it also control multiple web pages look and feel from one central position. What do I mean is if you have a web page, if you have a website which contains multiple web pages, and you want to make sure all your web pages is having a same kind of look and feel, let's say the footer and the header and the button, it should follow your style, your branding, then CSS is definitely going to be helpful, because it will give you the possibility or give you the feature to make sure your branding is maintained in all the pages of your website. What are the different advantages of CSS? So I basically mentioned these 5 advantages: maintainability, performance, appearances, search engine optimization, which is called SEO, and the browser compatibility. So I'll explain very briefly about all of this. So what do you mean by maintainability? As I was mentioning just a few minutes back, so CSS provides the consistency while creating the website. When a change is needed to your website, let's say font color, button background color, etc., you will do the changes in the CSS style sheet, and the same changes will be reflected in your entire website, in every pages of the website. So if you have a very large website, then this simple feature is going to save a lot of your time. Let's go to the next point. One way to improve the speedy delivery of CSS is by using the inline. Inline is nothing but inserting some content of your CSS style sheet directly into your HTML documents. This is good when you are dealing with a very small amount of resources. This approach definitely cuts down the amount of bandwidth your browser needs to download before it can render the page. Now, this trick is good when you are dealing with a very small amount of CSS, because browser will not cache the CSS. So for every future rendering of the page, browser will load the same CSS again from the scratch, which doesn't make sense, right? That is why you will find many developers use the inline only in the home page, but use the external CSS in other pages. So don't worry about this inline and external CSS and all these things. What about these terms? I will cover all of this term in a few minutes in this video. Let's go to the next one, which is called appearances. So it will allow you to make your website stylish, because it offers a wide array of expressive style capabilities. With CSS, as a website developer, you have the authority, or you have the flexibility to decide the look and feel of your website. CSS is basically that magic wand that you need while designing your website. Let's go to the next one, which is called search engine optimization, or SEO. The moment you incorporate CSS into your website design, you will find that the search engines like Google, Yahoo, and all the search engines, right, will find your website more easily. The reason is that CSS is having their clear coding language, which makes it very easy for the search engine to understand the content of your blog, content of your website. And by making your website search engine optimized, you are basically growing the audience. Last is the browser compatibility. CSS is basically going to work with all the known browsers, be it Chrome or Mozilla or Safari. CSS is going to work with all the browsers, all the well-known browsers. With that, let's move to the next one, which is called CSS Syntax. As you can see, CSS is basically two parts. One is called selector and another is called declaration block. So as you can see here, CSS is basically equals to selector plus declaration block. Now in this example, P is the selector, and then anything followed by P, like the color green, text align, middle, all these are the declaration block. Inside the declaration block, you can see the color, colon and green. So color is a property and green is the value of the property. So similarly, text align is the property and middle is the value of the property. So what this entire CSS, what this entire line is telling, make all the paragraph in the web page with the color green and make them middle aligned. We'll move to the next one, which is different ways to include CSS. So there are basically 3 different ways you can include CSS. One is like the external style sheet, which is definitely the preferred one. One is embedded styles and another one is the inline styles. So let's jump into the demo. So here is my index.html, which is basically having one paragraph and it's telling hello world, welcome to technical potpourri, and it's with paragraph P. And then what I'm doing, I am doing external style sheet. I'm actually importing and linking an external style sheet, which is hello world.cs. Here is the hello world.cs, and basically what it's doing, these are a couple of properties of the CSS, like color is green, text align center, font size large, and all this thing, right? And then I can write all my CSS here and then add that in this file. So that way, if I have multiple files, multiple HTML files, I don't need to make changes in each file. I'll make changes only in one CSS file and then add that file or import that file in all the HTML. So this is a way to include an external style sheet. Now, if I going to execute this code, this is how it will look like. Hello world, and then welcome to technical potpourri. So it's middle aligned, center aligned. The font color is green and it's kind of little bold. Let's move to the next one, which is embedded style. So here it's a little different. What I've done, I have embedded the style directly on the HTML page. So the way to do that, within your head, within the style tag, you can add the entire styling, and then the styling will be applied to this page. The third way to include CSS is through inline styling. As you can see here, right next to my P, I have added the styling here. Style equals to color green and text align center. So what is basically doing, it is adding the style on the individual P or individual directive. Now, this is good for testing purposes, but I'll not recommend this one for the production ready code. In the production ready code, you should always put all your CSS in an external style sheet and then link that one in your HTML. So this is good for quick testing. So these are the 3 ways how you can include a CSS to your HTML file. Let's continue with our next slide, which is like, what are the different things that you need to continue in this tutorial? So basically you need 2 things. One is Visual Studio Code and a live server extension from the marketplace. Visual Studio Code is very easy to install. So I'll show you how you can install Visual Studio Code. So if you want to install Visual Studio Code, this is the way you can install Visual Studio Code. It has written everything. This is a very good document. So what I'll do, I'll post the link in the description of this video and also in my blog post so that you can get to know how to install that. Once you have installed Visual Studio Code, what you need to do, you need to install an extension from the marketplace. So this is my Visual Studio Code. Once you install that, once you open that, this is the view that you'll find. On your left side, you will have this icon called extension, the last one probably. So clicking on that, you'll find all the extensions here. You need to search for live server and you will get this one, the live server. You need to install that. Once you install the live server, basically what you can do, you can open any HTML like this and right click and say open with live server. So once you do that, you will find your index.html is opened on the browser window. So these are basically 2 things you need to continue in this tutorial. You don't need anything. If in my future videos, if there is anything needed, I will specifically mention that in the video. But for the time being, only 2 things, Visual Studio Code and the live server, nothing else. Okay, finally, the Hello World demo. So as you can see in this 2 screenshot, on my left side, I have an index.html where I have written a very basic hello world, and on my right side I have the hello world.css. Now this is a CSS file where I have written all my styling criteria, or all my styling things, and then I have linked this hello world.css on my index.html on the left side. On the line number 4 you can find link, rel, style sheet, and then the hello world CSS. So once I've done that, if I execute this index.html, I will find my hello world. Welcome to Technical Potpourri, as you can see on the below of the screen. I'll give you a quick demo of this one, but the entire code is available in the GitHub, and I'll post the link of the GitHub in the description of this video so that you can go ahead and check that GitHub link. As I was telling, this is my index.html and this is my hello world.css. I have written this styling, which is basically color, green, text align center, and font size large. So color, text align, and the font size, these are called the property, and these are individual property values. Now this entire style will be applied to anything, any paragraph or p directive in the index.html. So here is my index.html. I have only one p, so that's why this entire styling will be applicable to this p. Now what I can do, I can execute that and see, this is what I am getting. Hello world and welcome to Technical Potpourri. With that, we have come to an end to our first tutorial. Thank you, congratulations. You have gone through the basic of CSS, how we can install what is CSS, what are the different advantages of using CSS. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please share and hit the like icon, and also please subscribe to my channel to get update about all my upcoming videos. Till then, goodbye.